Hello, thank you for joining me. It is tomatillo season at the Peace Offering Gardens, and we are going to make a pozole soup about it. And one of the main ingredients of pozole soup is hominy. And hominy is a corn that has been nixtamalized. And so basically they soak it in an alkaline solution. In this case, they used lime water. And that sort of helps you aid in your digestion of it and just makes it more mineral rich in general. So we're going to make this soup tomorrow, and in an effort to further help the digestion of this hominy, we're going to soak it overnight in water. So this will more than double in size, and so you want to make sure that you have enough water. You want to make sure that every little guy got pressed down. Tomorrow morning, Wilbur and I will check back in with you, and we will then drain it and rinse it, and then it'll be ready to put in our soup. Welcome back. Yesterday, we started soaking this hominy, and that is in an effort to help it be more digestible for us. And so last night when we did this, the level was about down here, and it's been soaking overnight, and you can see that the hominy has almost doubled in size. So now I'm going to take it over to the sink. I'm going to drain it and then rinse it. Then I'm going to put it into this slow cooker and start cooking this hominy. This will cook for about 3 to 4 hours, and it's just a component of the pozole soup. So we want to get this started first. So I'm going to take this over to the sink to drain it out. We're just going to bring it over here and put it into our slow cooker. Now this is a bone broth that I made. You should check out my video on making bone broth. This happens to be a beef bone broth, but you can use any broth that you like. But it's always a great idea to try to get bone broth into the diet. And that's one amazing component of this soup. So I don't know how many of these jars I'm gonna need, but this hominy will get even bigger. And so I want to definitely have enough that it could double in size again. So definitely a third. All right, that's looking good. So I'm gonna wait to season this with salt until after it has cooked. If you add salt now, it can have the effect of keeping it hard. And so we will wait until the hominy has gotten nice and soft, and then we will season it with salt. So I'm gonna get the lid on here and then cook this on high for about 3 hours. While the hominy is cooking, we are gonna start by roasting a few vegetables that we have harvested out of the garden here in this roasting pan. And we are going to add some chicken to it and roast the chicken on top so that all of that chicken fat gets nice and down into the vegetables, and that will become part of the soup. I have chosen chicken drumsticks here, but you can use any type of chicken that you like. I chose this because it was the only pasture-raised chicken I could find, and I always like to choose pasture-raised chicken because chickens should be allowed to eat bugs, and they should not just be vegetarian fed because that makes their fat so much healthier for then you to ingest. So I'll start with this garlic. So when I'm cooking garlic, I like to take the tip off, and then smash it down and then peel it. All of these vegetables inside this roasting pan are going to get pureed. So it doesn't really matter. I don't need to chop this up because it's all gonna make its way into the blender and become a base of the soup. I'm gonna use 4 cloves of garlic today because I'm feeling garlicky, but you don't have to. You can use more or less if you like. And I'd like to encourage you to not just make the soup that I am making, but make the soup that sounds best to you. Make the soup that you think your spouse or children will like. Up next, we will chop 1 onion that we harvested out of the garden. And peel the outermost layer off of this onion. And then I'm just gonna cut this into big chunks. And throw it in the roasting pan as well. All right, and next we're gonna cut up the tomatillos. So the tomatillos are sort of growing inside of what looks like a lantern to me. And so you sort of peel back that lantern. And then I'm gonna cut these larger ones into 4 pieces. And the smaller ones I'll just cut in half. These are a little bit slimy, so if that bothers you, you can always wash them off a little bit. So always check your tomatillos. If they've started to rot at all in any space, just don't use it. And then start to cut these guys. The smaller ones I'm just gonna cut in half, and the rest of them I will quarter. And we'll throw these into our roasting pan. Now you have the option to just leave this like this, but I like to add a little bit of heat to mine. So I harvested these peppers from the garden, and I'm going to put about 3 peppers into this as well. Just cut the tops off. Now I'm gonna add the chicken to this and season the chicken. So I'm gonna start by laying the chicken on here like this. What I wanna do is season the meat and not just the outside of the skin. So I'm gonna start by laying this like this, and then peeling back as much of the skin as I can. So I'm just trying to expose as much of the meat as I can so that I can season it. You always have to be diligent about washing your hands when you're working with raw chicken. And so now that my hands are covered in raw chicken, I don't want to touch my salt, so I'm going to rinse them off real quick. Okay, so I'm going to take my salt, and up high, I'm going to lightly dust all of the chicken. And in this process, I'm definitely going to be seasoning the vegetables on the bottom as well. All right, now I'm going to turn it over and then season the other side. So again, just peeling back the skin. And I have chosen chicken that is bone in and skin on because I want that fat from the skin and that flavor to get into the soup. It's just so delicious that you don't want to miss out on it. But if for some reason you had boneless, skinless chicken, it would work just as well. Also, when chicken is roasting with the skin on it, it tends not to dry out as much. And so if I were to boil this chicken, which is often done with this soup, that extracts the fat out of it. Where if you roast it underneath its skin, it encourages the fat to stay inside, and it makes each bite of chicken in your soup just that much more plump and juicy. All right, now to season this side of the chicken. You're always trying to get just a fine, even coating. All right, and then we'll gently lay this skin back over. And now this is ready to go in the oven. We're gonna roast these chicken legs for about 45 minutes, just until they are done, or 165 degrees if you are using a meat thermometer. All right, here is our chicken, fresh out of the oven. All right, now I'm gonna take this chicken and put it onto the plate. I'm gonna make sure and get all of the vegetables that are stuck to the back of it. And I'm just putting it here to rest because I'm going to take all of this chicken off of the bone, cut it into bite-sized pieces, and then add it to the soup. So I'm not using the chicken skin in this recipe, but this is sort of the perk of being the chef is while no one's looking, you can peel off that crispy chicken skin and you can eat it. Now I'm gonna take all of this and put it into this blender. And then I'm gonna rest a corner of it on the edges of this so that it slowly starts to pour in. And then I can start to scrape the remainder of what doesn't fall on its own down into the blender. All right, I had plucked some fresh cilantro from the garden because it's all about to go to flour. Cilantro cannot take the heat, and so this is the last week we'll have it. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a bunch of that. I like to wait and add it after the vegetables have cooked to have the contrast of the fresh green herbs along with the cooked vegetables. So I'm going to take about a half a bunch like this and throw it in here. And then blend it. Now it's time for us to pour this into our hominy. So we have been cooking our hominy in bone broth for about 3 hours. And as you can see, it is now light and fluffy. It is fully done. And then we still have some bone broth in here so that it can still be a soup. And now we're just going to take the contents of this and add it into the soup. And it smells so lemony and so fresh and a little bit spicy. And then I'm going to give this a nice stir to try to get all that green goodness incorporated into the broth. And now, if you'll remember, we did not add any salt to our hominy when it was cooking. And so right now, even though we've added all of these tomatillos into it, it's still probably very bland. The bone broth that I cooked it in had no salt as well. And so now is the time to season it. And this is quite a big pot of soup. And so you're going to need quite a bit of salt. And honestly, the only way to know whether or not you have enough is to taste it. And so salt will make it taste better, bring out the flavor of what's in here up to a certain point. Then you will get that 1 grain of salt that makes it start to taste salty. And so you sort of have to play with that line of getting the flavor better without it tasting salty. Let's see where we are. Just perfect. All right, our next step is to prepare the chicken. So you have to wait until it's cooled so that you can touch it. So let's check. This is just barely cool enough that I can touch it. So like I mentioned, this is a great opportunity for you to eat some crispy chicken skin because it's not good once it cools down. So this is your chance right now when no one's looking. This is normally when all my dogs come running. All right, now we're going to start to cut this chicken off of the bone. And then I encourage you to save your bones and make a bone broth out of it. I have a recipe on how to do that. It's so easy. Otherwise, all of those are going to waste. Some of these have little fat attachments to it, and so you just have to cut that off and keep going. And if you are making a bone broth with all of this leftovers, you want to put all of this cartilage and stuff in it as well. You'll get a lot more cartilage from doing the legs versus the breasts. So there's a lot of extra stuff in here to make the bone broth extra healthy for you. All right, now I'm going to chop this up into bite-sized pieces and add it to my soup. Some of it already is. So I'm going to find those pieces. And if there's any little weird cartilage parts, set that aside. You're going to put that in your bone broth. But this chicken, because we roasted it, is so moist and tender. And we're waiting until the last minute to add it so it will remain that way while you eat the soup. All of this is so much easier to do with your hands. So if you don't mind getting your hands dirty, it's going to be a lot easier to pull out these fatty pieces, and you'll be a lot more precise with getting all of the chicken off the bone, actually. So it might be worth waiting until it's all the way cool. And now we are ready to serve this soup. So the first thing we're going to do is give this a stir to sort of incorporate the chicken down in here. Oh, it smells so wonderful. I wish you were here. And then to plate this, with every bowl, I'm going to put half an avocado and the squeeze of half of a lime. So I'm going to take an avocado. This is an enormous avocado. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and slice this into chunks by making a crosshatch of sorts. And then I will scoop this avocado into the bowl. Now I'm going to take a lime, the juice of half of a lime, if they're juicy, which this one is, and squeeze it over the top. And all that's left to do is ladle this soup onto the avocado. And there you have it. Thank you so much for watching.